on Consulate here, seeing 2 5-1 halves. But in the end, it was Okami that brought it together in OT.
Living started in 2013 after we lost a very good man in the name of Dwayne Lally to a mental illness. They say death by suicide affects 115 people, but you can't even put a number on it. The ripple effect that the loss of one life had on thousands of people far outweighed what I've ever experienced in my entire life.
I'd received a call saying he'd gone missing. I was driving around the whole of the Gold Coast looking for him. I had no idea where to find him.
Dwayne was an avid boxing man, very talented. Life of the party, very charismatic, extremely passionate.
Loving, loyal, he was very cheeky.
Mental illness is costing many people their lives every single day. While I'm sitting here speaking, people are taking their life, and it's because there's people suffering in silence.
1 in 5 people suffer from some form of mental illness, and suicide's the leading cause of death between the ages of 15 and 44.
You can look for things like not getting out of bed of a morning, being socially disconnected, loss of appetite, change in mood, change in behaviour, lack of self-esteem.
Dwayne suffered from depression and bipolar for a number of years, and the stigma kept him quiet. So we wanted to turn that negative into a positive, and if the shoe was on the other foot, I'm sure Dwayne would have done the same. We're just doing what he would have done.
Hi, my name's Dan Price. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't connect with Livin, but I certainly wouldn't be as well as I am today. I was suicidal and tried to take my life on the 4th of December 2014. I was very lucky to survive. I didn't want people to know that I was struggling because of the stigmas around mental illness.
We noticed that there were plenty of great service providers in this country, but all too common people weren't seeking help because of this stigma. So we wanted to bridge that gap.
As males, we're extremely tough. We want to be the tough people, the ones that have all the answers, the ones that don't want to admit our vulnerabilities and our weaknesses.
You might not have the answers, but if you can offer support and just listen to them, that could be what they need in that moment of time.
I was an alpha male and a popular guy, and I didn't want people to think I was weak, and that's why I love the message that Livin presents, which is it ain't weak to speak.
We go all around the country, businesses, sporting clubs, teaching people that it ain't weak to speak. What we're really doing is educating them in how to speak, where to speak, and then we're educating people on how to listen and how to look for these warning signs, because without one you can't really have the other. It's all about being honest and open. If something's off, just ask them.
That's what Livin's all about, taking that stigma away and giving people hope, help, connection, and giving them the confidence to speak up and seek the help when they need it and when they deserve it.
We believe with education comes understanding, with understanding comes acceptance, and with acceptance comes hope.
I want to change the way the world understands, perceives and interprets mental health. Let's change the dynamics in which this is looked at. For far too long it's been a stigma. We're going to make this a dinner table conversation, the same way that we'd put our hand up and run for help if we had a broken leg.
Don't be afraid to have those, hard-hitting, confronting conversations, because it could save a life.
I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life, and Livin has been instrumental in changing my life for the better.
If in doubt, reach out, because there's a lot of people out there that want to help and support you making that change to get back on track to start living again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Playday 3 here for Oceanic Nationals 2020. My name is Xenox. Joining me tonight, lovely Guzman, or just Guz, however you want to call him. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. We've got some good games tonight. Kickstarted. We had a bit of a break since Friday. We're back now. Games are going to be exceptional. Maybe there'll be a couple of one-sided, but then we think there's going to be a couple that will go the distance.
Yeah, if you thought last week was exciting, particularly Friday night, I'm sure this week again will definitely produce some interesting results. I mean, tonight, we're probably expecting maybe some of these games to be a little bit more one-sided, but I wouldn't count any team out in this best-of-1 format.
Before we get started, socials down below, as well as the hashtag OCN on Twitter. Let us know how you are finding the tournament, along with any votes as well that are presented on the Twitter. So get involved on the socials there. Guys, of course, 1 week is already in the book, only a few more to go. It feels like we're getting close towards the halfway mark of the season. I think almost by the end of the week, it feels like that's where we will be at. So standings, I didn't even have to plug it. How good is our production?
Amazing.
Pittsburgh Knights top of the standings. I don't think many would have predicted that, even after just 2 Playdays, guys, because I think a lot of us would have thought Wildcard would be up there.
That's exactly right. Wildcard, we were expecting to be first, and Okami not far behind in second, but they themselves find themselves in fifth. Looking further down, of course, we see Rhythm and LFO currently in that relegation positions or relegation playoffs. So they're looking to try and get their first win, in fact, on the board. And we discussed this a little bit on the Reload podcast last night. These teams need to be winning 3, potentially 4 maps to be in that running for the top 6. So it's better late than never to start getting some wins on the board. If both Rhythm and LFO don't take a win this week, they are in serious danger of staying in that bottom 2.
Now let's go have a look at the schedule for today's matches. Of course, everyone plays each other. They'll do so again on Friday. We're going to start things with Okami versus Elevate. Big clash there before what could potentially be 2 quick ones between Wildcard Rhythm, then Snowball LFO. And then as we sort of start the night with a close one, we should hopefully end the night with a close one. Pittsburgh Knights versus newly improved Ferox here for Oceanic Nationals.
Yeah, Pittsburgh Knights and Ferox, probably the matchup of the night. For me, Okami Elevate not far behind. Again, all of these teams are trying to just fight to get points on the board. It's such a short, condensed season. You don't have a big opportunity to have mistakes. We've already seen a couple of these teams slip up, like Wildcard, for example, who are looking to bounce back tonight, and they should. But those results, those losses could come back to bite these teams later on.
Now, just quickly before we touch on Okami and Elevate, which of course will be our first match, I think the LFO Noble matchup will be intriguing. Of course, LFO after this are going to have a bit of an easier run towards the back end of the Oceanic Nationals. So this could be a litmus test, I guess, as you will, against Noble, see whether or not they can match it with the team that's looking very, very good for Oceanic Nationals so far. As we come back, Okami Elevate will be our first matchup, guys, for the night, which I think for both teams, there's a lot on the line here. I know it's still early days, but wins are important, and right now both of them finding them hard to come by.
Yeah, well, I mean, Elevate just recently ended their drought. I think it was over 122 days since their last win, when they actually did end up taking down Rhythm on Friday night. So it was a good result for them, albeit a little bit close. So maybe Elevate's still slowly rising. Again, tonight's going to be a big test. And they do have Okami, who have been weakened by Ferox from last week as well. So if there's any opportunity for Elevate to continue this upward trajectory, tonight is a really great opportunity for them.
Let's elevate over towards our team graphics, kickstarting it off with Okami, who, well, had a bit of a shock loss last week against Ferox. I believe it was 7-3, if I'm correct. Relatively unchanged roster from 6 Masters, of course, except for Specker, who's come in. Look, this is a team that we thought would be doing better than probably the way they've started, and this is going to be a good matchup test for them to try and reverse recent trends.
We expected them to have a good season. I mean, their first match of the season was quite strong. It was a 7-3 against Rhythm over on Clubhouse. But then, as you mentioned, flipped that scoreline and they lost 3-7 to Ferox on Villa. And in all honesty, they played pretty poorly against Ferox. It was a messy game all around from both teams, but there were some big red flags there for Okami. So hopefully they can change that up. Probably not expecting them to head us back to that map after that bad form. And I mean, if there's any opportunity to bounce back, it's probably against Elevate, who they themselves aren't that the strongest at the moment either.
Yeah, speaking of Big Red, we got the Big Red logo for Elevate, which of course is Okami's matchup tonight. Vast, God Legion, Digital, Worthy, and of course the debutant from last week, Hotshot. So Elevate, who finished bottom 2 in 6 Masters, definitely wanting to avoid bottom 2 for Oceanic Nationals. Otherwise, then they will go into the relegation system later on in the year. So can they avoid bottom 2? That's probably the goal for Elevate right now. Not only that, but guys, can they refine some form? They had a struggle last week, an 8-7 win against Rhythm. didn't really set the world on fire.
Yeah, there's two key questions. Can they avoid the playoffs, the playoff relegations, and can they actually can they win against a stronger opponent? Because they have lost to the Pittsburgh Knights already, and I would say that on the balance of team abilities, Pittsburgh Knights is probably a closer indicator to Okami than Rhythm would be. So it's still going to be a very challenging game for Elevate, but they do have a little bit of form heading into this one that they can try and play off.
It definitely could go either way. I think we can both agree with that here between these two Okami Elevate. It feels like which one's going to show up. Are we going to get the Okami that did extraordinarily well in 6 Masters? And are we going to get the Elevate that finished bottom 2? Or are we going to find more of that medium between the two of them and get a decent clash here? This could very well go overtime. It could also very well be a 7-3 to Okami, for instance, depending on which Elevate really sort of shows up here. And the same can then, of course, be said for Okami. So 2 teams that at the moment, guys, for whatever reason, are just up and down. And as I said, whoever's going to be more up tonight, obviously, is going to get the chocolates.
100%. Best of 1 format as well. So being up and down can happen a little bit more traditionally. But if you are a better team, you are, in the end, going to be performing more consistently. I mean, Noble, for example, it hasn't seemed to phase them too much. So, I don't know. Tonight, anyone's game, as you mentioned. Flip a coin, you'll probably be able to pick the result. I don't know. I'm keen to see what the map is going to be in particular. I think that's really going to be an indicator as to which way this one might swing.
Well, that's just about cue, I think, for the map predictions or the map vetoes and where we are going to see these two teams playing. Of course, so far there's been a bit of a theme for Oceanic Nationals. The likes of Cafe has proven to be a bit of a popular one as just, I guess, the map for OCE. Between these two teams, though, guys, before we do get to that map veto, are we looking at the more regular maps, the likes of Clubhouse, the likes of Cafe, and almost what feels like the third map now is Villa? From at least the first week of Oceanic Nationals.
Yeah, heading into this map veto, I think it's probably going to be one of the more difficult ones to predict of all the matchups, and that's simply because of the fact that there's been 4 unique maps played across the 4 matches that they've played. So if that makes sense, there was Villa, Clubhouse, Coastline, and Cafe played between these 4 teams in the first week. So there's no consistent trend there at all, so I'm not sure exactly where they're going to head. Maybe they'll try and ban out the maps that they perform poorly on, so that would take Villa off the board for Okami and then Cafe for Elevate, so maybe we can rule those 2 out.
Of course, both teams do get 3 bans apiece. The team that does ban last does get the option, I guess, between the 2 maps that are left in the pool by that point. So let's go and see where these 2 teams have been able to come to a decision or not, and who's going to decide where we will be taking things. So it looks like it's going to be Okami that got the decision between Consulate and Clubhouse. And essentially, guys, they have selected Clubhouse. Even though it says they've banned Consulate, in a way, that's the way it goes, right? They've technically said, we'll take Clubhouse over Consulate.
Yeah, I mean, Elevate, definitely brave from them. They decided to keep Villa in the pool despite Okami performing quite poorly on that against Ferox last week. So maybe Elevate themselves aren't that strong. Again, we don't have the recent form of them on that map, so it could be something potentially that they haven't prepared for much. Clubhouse, on the other hand, as I mentioned, Okami have played it. It was a 7-3 against Rhythm, so maybe being against Rhythm, not the greatest indicator of form, but it's still a strong result. Elevate, on the other hand, haven't played it in a long time. In fact, I am going to have to scroll all the way back to the very first Playday of 6 Masters 2020, where they lost to LFO 2-7.
Yeah, and that could be, I guess, a reasoning for this between the 2 teams. Thinking, of course, from Okami's perspective, that Elevate maybe haven't played as much on Clubhouse, even though Clubhouse is a map that the majority of teams in Australia play apparently quite regularly. Not so much the case for Elevate, especially maybe against a map like Consulate, which I don't actually know if we've seen Consulate at all so far for Oceanic Nationals. I'd actually be more happy to go on the limb and say we haven't. It's been a lot of Cafe. We've had some Villa. So definitely Clubhouse we've also had as well, which is where we're going to be heading for this matchup. And I definitely think by now heading to Clubhouse, it still remains that 50-50. You know, I think you mentioned at one point, does the map have an opinion? Does it weigh on it in terms of the decision as to who's the favorites here? And I think Clubhouse still throws it up as that 50-50. I know that Elevate haven't played on it regularly in terms of national competitions, but you'd have to imagine that they've scrimmed on it, and you have to imagine they still know how to play what is a pretty common map.
Yeah, there's really 2 trains of thought. You can try and guess what the result is going to be off form, or you can try and guess what has been done behind the scenes. As you mentioned, Elevate haven't got a lot in terms of official results. That said, they may have been spending hours upon hours dry running the map and playing it in scrims particularly in preparation for Okami. We just don't know. Okami, on the other hand, have played the map a little bit more. Not a whole lot. I mean, as I said, it was Rhythm 7-3. It was actually then a 5-7 loss against Pittsburgh in the major as well. So that was also not a very good result for them. So again, still a coin flip. Okami, though, surely they edge out. Surely.
We got a bit of time here, but again, we see Oregon, I think, banned pretty early on in that. I'm surprised teams haven't sort of been using it as a way of getting rid of that decision-making process for that team that does ban last, for instance, being able to choose between Consulate and Clubhouse. Technically, a team like Elevate could have said, you know what, we won't ban Oregon, and you have to make that decision. Do you go Oregon or do you go Clubhouse? Now, maybe that makes the decision easier because then it's like, but maybe there's a way you can sort of formulate it so you end up getting what you want a little bit easier. Most teams probably aren't going to be wanting to take Oregon just this early on.
Yeah, often in ANZ, we do see a little bit of cat and mouse with the new maps. It tends to take normally about a season of it in play, where we see it towards the back end, if not the season after. Keep in mind that these teams didn't actually have Oregon in the map pool during Six Masters 2020. It was only during the OCE major. So it's only been exposed to most of these teams for a very short period of time. And I guess they just don't want to take that risk of leaving it till the very end in case that they haven't been prepared very well for it. Because as you mentioned, no one's actually played it in an official yet. And on top of that, if you do play it in an official and you're the first, that's a whole lot of VOD material for all of the other teams to review. And then that does compromise you later in the season.
Now, both teams have beaten Rhythm. Both teams have also lost to other teams sort of around their level. This feels like a really big one because, as you kind of alluded to earlier on in the pre-show, that getting 3 wins should be able to net you a playoff position. Whoever wins this game will be on 2 wins for the remainder of the season to come. You would then think that whoever wins this should be able to find at least 1 more by the end of the season. While I don't want to go as far as saying this is going to secure you playoffs, it's going to go a hell of a long way in doing so.
Yeah, we're not expecting, I don't think, necessarily for either of these teams to finish in that relegation position. But that said, Elevate did finish second last season. So if that were to replicate, then they would find themselves in that position. So they have to be really careful that they don't get too stressed about that and just play the best that they can. The best of 1 format means that maybe a couple of results just won't go your way. You won't be on point that day. So maybe if that happens today and Okami do end up getting the win, it is important that Elevate bounce back and vice versa, because Okami also did have a loss in that first week. So maybe they were a little bit thrown off by that. It was against an opponent that they were expected to beat. So it's important that whoever loses is able to bounce back. And it's only a short bounce back window because they didn't have to play Friday night.
Let's go on to what is now becoming my favorite part of the show, just due to my own success within it. The Snowball Esports predictions led by our expert panel. We'll see their thoughts. And also, you can also see who's leading the way in the predictions. Myself and Dev, both on 6 apiece. We've both gone Okami here. In fact, guess who has not gone Okami here? It's the other guys. The guys who do the job on Friday when we can't do it.
Yeah, look, all I'm going to say is that we're probably going to get this one right like we did last week. That's all I'm going to say. Raven and Manic, maybe they just typed in the wrong name. I'm not sure what's going on there because it looks like the rest of us know what we're actually talking about. That said, I don't want to throw them under the bus completely because I do envision an opportunity, a window of opportunity for Elevate to potentially take this map. And I just want to say that the fact that Dev is still somehow leading this despite not casting OCN anymore is a little bit distressing for the rest of us.
Well, he's not leading it. He's shared leading it with myself, so it's not that bad. You know, I am still on top here as well. Let's not forget about that. And Ducky down the bottom on 3. Not ideal for him at all. And it was interesting on the reload. He said he's going to try and reel it back a little bit. But I said, at this point now, you're so far behind. You actually need to keep going with those outlandish predictions. He hasn't done so here. But Elevate, Okami, it seems as if the quote expert panel very much in agreement that it is going to be Okami that is favored in this matchup. And I would dare say a lot of that is probably more so on the back of Six Masters performance than, say, Oceanic Nationals performance.
That's exactly right. I mean, us experts sometimes have no idea what we're talking about because if I'm not wrong, we all actually predicted Okami to take down Ferox, and we all know how that ended, right? So it's difficult to predict. Again, best of 1 format. We're probably going to say this out the entire night. It makes it a little bit trickier to predict these results, but Okami, they're going to win. Sure, we can't let Raven and Manic.
To be fair, how were we meant to know that Oda's the best player in OCE?
True, Oda is the best player in OCE. I'm sure chat has already is already aware of that. In fact, that's how we know he is the best player, because he has the most support in chat.
For all the Oda fans, and I guess in part Ferox fans, they'll be on last tonight. So I guess saving the best till last, I guess. Yeah, you like that one. But of course, Okami, Elevate, this is a big one. And I know we have just been building up to it. And I really do hope it goes to this OT that we think it very well could. We're going to Clubhouse to see Okami versus Elevate. Both teams, well, kind of in a way looking to turn their seasons around and turn their fortunes around and get a bit of a leg up towards the playoffs.
Big match as we enter into the ban phase. If you are just joining us, it is of course Clubhouse, so we're expecting to see a hard breach ban, maybe even a Thatcher as well. That said, in the first week, neither of these teams actually did ban Thatcher. Of course, after the rework, maybe not as prevalent here in ANZ as it was previously. There's at least a hard breach. We can tick that off. Habana taken out there by Elevate. Now the question really is, will that be followed up by that Thatcher ban, or maybe something along the lines of even an ace? We have seen a lot of ace bans and a lot of ace play. That double hard breach ban could work in the favor of Elevate, who are starting on the defense. So Okami, mindful of that, do go on to the Thatcher.
I was actually thinking the ace as well when the whole time you're talking about hard breach bans, because at least in the Clubhouse matches, I think it's actually only been one, max 2 Clubhouse matches so far for Oceanic Nationals. Ace was selected in that and definitely performed very, very strongly compared to, say, like Maverick. Kind of feels like maybe Ace has overtaken Maverick for that Kennel's Wall role, for instance. So Kaid going to be banned out here as well. Yeah, Habana's banned though, and Thatcher's banned. I think that's also probably par for the course. Not too many surprises right now.
Nothing too wild. We'll have to see what the final ban will be. Might even be something like a Wamai? No, it's going to be Mirror. So a lot of teams just not wanting to have to deal with Mirror at all, which isn't too rare. There's nothing really jumping out massively for me in this ban phase. I mean, I guess, like I mentioned, the fact that teams are banning Thatcher out for the first time in this season is a little bit noteworthy, but on this map, not necessarily.
Yeah, especially on Clubhouse. But I think it's one thing that we spoke about in the first week is Thatcher is very different here than, say, for instance, where obviously the coordination and the communication is just tenfold here at Oceanic Nationals, where Thatcher is still incredibly strong. So no surprise to see that being banned out. Jacked out on the ace though, and again, no surprise there either. I think for really the majority of this match, I expect ace to be utilized quite heavily.
Now, you say that the communication is tenfold in OCN compared to matchmaking, but have you ever played with the caster stack? I don't know, but the comms in the caster stacks are not, they are on a whole nother level. Level
of bad, I would imagine.
Good. No, good.
Let's see down below the community vote and what you guys think this matchup is going to look like. Apparently, Elevate 58% favored going against the quote-unquote expert Snowball predictions panel, who of course are vastly in favor of Okami. Do you see what I did there while we were on Vast?
Vastly in favor. That is pretty good. Not
I like
bad.
that one, yeah.
I'm going to get a pun counter. You know what I need to add to my spreadsheet? A pun counter. And I'm just going to add to the tally every time you say a pun. So we're at 1. I'll update you later in the night what we get up to.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Someone's got to notice the brilliance. Church Arsenal, first round here. Okami on the attack, Elevate on the defense. So see what Elevate are going to bring out here, especially Church Arsenal. Do they turtle up? Do they roam around? See how aggressive they want to be early on. It is only the first round.
Of course, no castle on the board, so Elevate not executing what has been affectionately referred to as the SSG roam, of course, named after Space Station Gaming. Instead, they're all playing here on the basement. Of course, both approaches have their pros and cons. If you decide to play in basement, of course, it fortifies the objective a little bit more and you're less prone to rushes, but it does also mean that the attack, and in this case, Okami, can gain pretty quick map control, and we do see them already droning ahead, the likes of Kitchen being spotted out. As I say that, though, Digital drops Specker. Not sure where that is, and Specker has been solo entering so often. He did it on Villa, it didn't quite work out, and it looks like on this occasion it doesn't pay dividends in round number 1.
Not ideal. Not ideal at all. Loika just gonna open up one of these hatches. Let's elevate on the defense first up. How much do we really take into account these sort of opening rounds? Really can't necessarily look too forward in the matchup as a whole. Of course, it is best of one. So I guess every round does count probably that little bit more than usual if it is a best of 2 or a best of 3. Definitely don't have warm-up time. Unfortunately for Specker, not the best start. 4 versus 5 minute on the clock. Okami just slowly pushing their way towards the basement.
With the Thermite taken off the board, that will make this a little bit more challenging for the attack. That said, though, of course, Ace and Maverick still on the board. Joker has that diffuser in hand, watching blue. Does look like there is a player in that position. I believe it's God Legion taking care of Oil Pit. A risky nade here, and it could find its mark, but there's no one behind Generator. As I mentioned, God Legion protected by those ADS devices holding the drop. Off screen though, Cutie finds a nade, and that leaves it in a 4-on-4. This will be quite a hectic execute though, with 25 left to go.
A nice nade kill from Kitchen, 20 seconds. As you said, 4 versus 4. Ippy style now just going to push into Arsenal. Spotted one in dirt at the last second, but wanted to remove that goo mine. Instead, now just trying to hold the angle, expecting the push to come through. We can now actually remove it, and of course, chaos ensues down to the basement. 1 versus 3 of Elevate, and just been able to pretty much dominate Akami's attacking push towards the end. I'll take that opening round.
Nice little shot there from Worthy to close things out, and despite the fact that Elevate on the defense didn't commit to the roam, they still managed to soak up a lot of time, and part of that was really off the back of Specker being dropped early. It meant that Okami had to be a little bit more cautious at that man disadvantage to ensure that it didn't turn to a 3-on-5 at that point. It would have been unwinnable. That caution, in the end though, did cost them the round. They didn't have a whole lot of time to get anything going. That's a solid start for Elevate. And of course it is Clubhouse, so traditionally a little bit more defender-sided. So we are expecting that to continue, and Elevate, of course, with that in the backs of their minds, are hoping to get just as many rounds on the board as possible in this first half.
Over to gym bedroom. One thing you sort of touched on, I don't want to harp on it too much because I feel a bit bad, but obviously Specker mentioned last week going down early on in a couple of matches and can just sort of be a little bit overzealous, over aggressive at times. Does need to probably reel that in, I guess, unless that's sort of just what Okami want, is that aggressive nature and pushing in. Obviously just got to be a bit cleaner with that execution.
When Spec is on, he can definitely play like that, but it doesn't feel like that gameplay style is really being facilitated at the moment, or at least it is being shut down the majority of the time by the teams on the defense. Ferox did it last week, and in that first round, Digital was able to get that first pick. And funnily enough, Digital is actually one of the players for Elevate who's been in a little bit of a rough patch. So I'm sure that that first kill, especially getting Specker off the board, will give him a nice little confidence boost. And I mean, that confidence seems to be flowing currently on the bottom floor, a long way away from the objective. Maybe again, trying to find that early pick.
And you say rough patch though, I guess, but it kind of feels like almost everyone in here is on some sort of a rough patch. Really none of these players getting off to the most amazing start last week that they would have liked, and both teams certainly wanting to feel like they could beat either side, Okami over Elevate or Elevate over Okami, to gauge where either team is at. Balcony's just going to be opened up, at least enough to push in. Jack Dash is going to open up a little bit even more. With the A, still plenty of time here. Not too much of a rush required for Okami. Just trying to keep an eye. I believe that's Digital down in the bottom left of your screen. Not sure. Yeah, it does come back up now. I was going to say, I'm not sure if Digital's going to find much down in the basement.
There could be an engagement with Specker. Specker, at least on this occasion, does get out on top. Gets away with 75 HP as well. So his role being fulfilled on that occasion. Got Ippy's style to get another one. So Elevate, unfortunately, in this occasion, it's a stark contrast to the last round where they were able to maintain a man advantage for a lot of the round. They themselves find them on the back foot. Faso trying to get one back. This is a big pick if he gets it, but he gets shut down. 4-on-2. Worthy and Hotshot now need to hold on for over a minute.
Yeah, Vance just positioning himself there, looking to try and even up the scores, I guess, in game. Doesn't work out and makes it even worse. And it's really just blowing out into Okami's favor right now, winning all of these fights. Worthy, though, over in Con. Very close to losing this one, and now very much has against Jack Dad. Hotshot, though, has now got 2 this round. C4 kill into Cutie. One of the newer players for the Oceanic Nationals. Made the debut last week. We'll find an easy triple kill onto Jack Dad. May even find a 4th one here soon.
Oh, no.
Does get it, but it couldn't find the ace, fortunately, for Okami. Ippy Style just right behind gets the refrag.
And I mean, initially I was going to be quite critical of that Maverick. I believe it was Joker jumping off the defuse like they did, but in the end probably was the best decision. And fortunately, Ippy Style wasn't a great position to refrag that one out. Okami get their first win now on the board, and it seems like at least in the first 2 rounds, a lot of the end result is being dictated by those entry picks. I think it's really important that Elevate hold on a little bit tighter at the start. Maybe if they are going to roam, don't commit to it for too long. Don't overstay their welcome. I mean, that's what happened to Digital. Got a little bit too antsy. Specker able to take him down, and from there it kind of steamrolled a little bit.
Just looking at it from an external point of view, though, that's got to be an amazing round for Hotshot. Being able to go and get, well, I believe it was 4 kills by the end of it. Has 6 kills now in the first 2 rounds. And then we spoke about it on the reload, and I think we even spoke about it a little bit last week. But in terms of all of the debutants, it did feel like Hotshot was probably one of the weaker debutants last week, but definitely can't say that right now. Has stood up immensely in the first 2 rounds for Elevate. Unfortunately, though, the 4 kills in the last particular round, all for naught, but good to be finding kills and being involved and being able to help out and feel like you're a part of the team. And it's just really nice then for Elevate because they can trust him and have that confidence. I'm sure they do, but it just also feels good probably for Hotshot to be able to back it up now in game as well. 1-1 and probably the start we expected between these 2 teams. Nice close affair as we head over to CCTV and Cash.
Yeah, 6-1 on a smoke as well is definitely quite impressive. Of course, Hotshot has been rotating between the smoke and the mute. Pretty similar in terms of their loadouts. Utility, of course, quite different. On this occasion, the smoke being brought out can help, of course, with that plant denial, and even if they do try and Maverick trick the CCTV wall, delaying that, despite it being inevitable, that slight delay can, of course, throw off the execute. As we, again, will follow Digital on another extensive roam, trying to find an early pick. This is a common run out over towards Strip. Can find players repelling. And oh my goodness, he could find Specker, who's just standing there out in the open. Digital, oh no, gets timed as Specker does unfortunately fall off. And they could well find themselves in an engagement here. This could be very messy.
Nothing just yet. Maybe danger averted, potentially. Specker just rotating over to the other side of the map. Still 2 minutes on the clock. Digital once again roaming around though. Last round not quite as effective. First round definitely was. And did Digital and Specker eventually find someone? Maybe find each other. Beauty's got the drone out along with Specker, so can at least drone Specker ahead here towards Con, and maybe Specker could really pincer in Elevate from Con, and then the rest coming in from Kennel's wall.
I'm surprised Elevate didn't try and hold on to Con control, but as I say that, a lot of angles to shut that down. In fact, it was Cutie to shut down the Jaeger. That's a great opening pick again here for Okami. They have full control now of Master Bedroom and Con, and they can start to convert that onto the wall and maybe go for a cash plan. Of course, keeping in mind the main breach in CCTV has also been open, that making the rotate for the defense even harder. So as it stands, Okami should be able to convert this round off the back of that first pick. That said, though, Digital on the roam finds one, could well find a second, hits the shot. That's huge in this round, and Elevate find themselves back in it.
Yeah, massive from Digital. Continued that roam. Was slow going. Patience is a virtue, though, and does find 2 in the end, which is crucial now for Elevate. Forces Jack that into Con. 30 seconds. They have to get in position and go for this plant soon enough. 3 versus 3 now. Joker's just going to run it through Kennel's wall, but straight into the fire of Hotshot, who finds yet another kill. 7-1 now. Gas canister. Did that? No, I thought it did. It was Vast who got jacked at. Hotshot, though, immediately eliminated by Ippy Style. In a 1 versus 2. Vast and Digital both on the first floor. Ippy Style does have the diffuser and can get it down. from here could actually find a position to ward them off, but Digital pushing straight in, being aggressive, trying to keep the pressure right on, and unfortunately for Ippy just looked the wrong way. Digital's roam proving dividends in this round.
I really thought off the back of the first pick, Okami would be able to convert that round, but the real tipping point was Digital on that roam. It's quite an uncharacteristic roam to be soloing on Clubhouse in particular, but so far it's been paying off, and I'm sure sooner or later, if they haven't already, Okami will read into this and might dedicate some more drones and even a flank watch operator to try and cover that. But traditionally, Okami don't really like to play that sort of playstyle. So I think Digital is providing a really nice disruption at the moment, and again, it's coming off the back of a poor first week. This is maybe the kickstart that he needs, and maybe that will help the rest of his team as well, because Vast is quite vocal, and Digital rather is quite vocal, quite energetic. If he can bring that to the team, that will lift them all.
Hard to gauge too much though, especially just in the first half. How many attacking rounds is Okami going to need here? 3, 2, potentially. Don't think they're going to need a ridiculous amount here. Hotshot, though, of course, has been the focal point from us, and deservedly so. But Digital, as you said as well, really stepping things up from last week. God Legion's just going to reinforce Kitchen, but Okami, Church Arsenal weren't able to do too incredibly well in the opening round. In saying that, though, losing Specker in, well, I think it was like the first 15 seconds or so was not ideal, and did make it very difficult for the remainder of the round from there onwards.
Heading back down, Elevate, again, not dedicating to a roam. And I prefaced that earlier by saying that if they do want to go above, that aids in wasting time. That said, when they did attempt it on the first try, Okami were disrupted by an opening pick from Digital, and that wasted the time for them. So it looks like Digital again might commit to a roam. It looks like maybe not, as he heads his way back towards site. Important that Specker, if he decides to solo entry once again, is a little bit more mindful. But I am anticipating he won't go for it just yet. Or not.
Well, that's at least that's at least winning the duel this time around, unlike the last time we were on Church Arsenal. So Specker finding the opening frag there onto Vast. That just gives Okami a leg up and a lifeline into this round. They can easily break up kitchen floor and try and find another frag before eventually then pushing on through. So if they can make this 5-3, the push down into the basement should be a hell of a lot easier for Okami for the remainder of this round. So with what, a minute 50 seconds remaining on the clock, they probably don't have to do much more from here except find probably another frag through the floorboards.
Specker using an Ash Charge to open up some more angles from above, as well as peeking the Moto hatch. A 5-on-3 here for Okami would be devastating for the defense and would aid the aggressive playstyle that Okami want to try and execute. But it looks like in the meantime, they just have to settle on the 5-on-4, try and not let that be evened out by Elevate, who are playing quite passively at the moment, trying to force Okami to make that first move. It looks like Epi might be able to head that. Considers the oil push, but as we saw in the first round, God Legion is holding that behind a deployable, plenty of ADS devices as well, so this will be near impossible to push from the attack.
This way, if you can find another frag though, does potentially force God Legion to change angle and hold something else. God Legion actually taking some damage there. Not sure how that happened. Digital, of course, was subsequently eliminated. Another nade's going to go from Jacob. This could find something. Never mind. ADS will capture that. Going to see old God Legion. 35 seconds remaining, but as I said before, really all Okami probably needed was finding one more frag. They've done that now. 5 versus 3. They can start to drop down, push in all together. And yeah, God Legion did have to change that angle slightly. Did have to move around a bit. Hot shot. Still plenty of gas canisters. What's it? One drop down, which was Joker. God Legion, though, watching that angle. Fortunately, though, everything else. And as soon as Okami then just dropped down, push in, they had the numbers to overwhelm Elevate.
Again, coming down to that opening pick, Okami finding the first 2 makes it incredibly difficult to hold that objective. once the checklist has been ticked off, there's so many entry points for Okami to use. They've got 2 hatches, they've got the main stairs, they've got blue stairs, they've got dirt tunnel. The list is very, very extensive, and if there's only 3 members on the board, there's only so many of those that you can watch and lock down. That said, Elevate now will rotate back towards gym and bedroom, a site that they are unsuccessful on thus far, so they'll have to try and switch something up. It was a 1-on-2 in the end for them when they did lose the round, but again, they want to try and switch that around and give themselves that man advantage.
It seems like they've got a different strategy for gym, bedroom, Elevate on the defense, bringing in the Goyo, Mew, and Wamai compared to the other sites here on Clubhouse. So, you know, you say it hasn't worked out well for them. It's only been the 1 round. Very evidently, they got themselves good knowledge of this site and what they sort of want to achieve from it. Have to execute a bit better. And of course, in that second round, which they did lose, it was Specca finding the opening frag onto Digital. So it was that sort of reverse that we saw in the opening round. Specca, whether you like it or not, is either going to probably get fragged early on or find a frag. That 50 comes out from him, that's for sure. You never know what you're going to get.
100%, and the stats back that from the first 4 rounds, he's been involved in 3 of the opening engagement. He's won 2, lost 1. So he's net positive, at least on entries so far, not the worst result. But again, if he does go for it here in the 5th round and loses it, there's a real chance that Elevate can capitalize that and hold on for another round. Again, Digital on the flank. This is absolutely ridiculous here on Clubhouse. Surely Okami do have the drone set up and they're ready and waiting for this.
Yeah, pretty much identical play from Digital so far to what we saw last time around for gym, bedroom. See if it pays off this time for Digital. Last time it certainly did not. I think Specca's now going to make that run in as well. Most likely soon enough on that first floor. Just going to drone it out first. And you just wonder, guys, is it going to be another Digital versus Specca situation on our hands over the next 30 seconds or so?
Bomb located by attacker.
Could well be the case. Digital, on this occasion, not overextending, not overstaying that welcome. In a great position to go back up the stairs quickly if required. Specca fully aware of that, but not aware of the hatch. Is taken down by Worthy, who's in a great position inside of gym. Can fall back as well. That's a devastating loss for Okami early here.
Yeah, it really is. Specca being able to get in there, get that control is what sort of set them up for gym bedroom last time around. This time, of course, Specca's eliminated. And they're going to have to find another way in. Worthy just waiting, watching to see a pixel just pop up through the barricade. Not going to find it. Vulcan shield on the bed can also buy a lot of time, provided they come in through that window. Well set up here, Elevate. With a minute remaining. With that advantage, they're set up nicely, and Hotshot finds a second one onto Joker. I think it's at the window over the stairs, and Ippy style just has a tumble.
Get up, you'll be okay.
Oh, the drone hole. Oh, Worthy. That was quite spicy indeed, inflicting even more damage, and these attackers will be forced to filter through the main breach. If they can't find a pick or 2 more this round, surely will go the way of Elevate.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Cutie does rotate off as Jack Daddy off screen finds one. That's over towards Con, I believe. Cutie finding one as well. That evens it up, and maybe, just maybe, Okami can trade this out.
20 seconds left. Jack Dad's got to try and find a way in, but this is the only way through now. Brute force.
15
Quick
seconds
reload,
left.
14 seconds, and just find a way to vault in. Cutie probably has to pick up the pace as well.
Attackers bomb diffuser
And
has
unfortunately,
been
as soon as he walks into the room, does get shut down, and Elevate do take the round eventually. And continues this trend of just back and forth. You get one, and then we get one.
Two, 3. The scoreline. Elevate will really be pushing hard for the 4-2 here. These attacks aren't very easy considering that there's a hard breach ban, a Thatcher ban as well. I think Okami so far have done well to get these rounds on the board. Now, one thing as well that I want to mention is the fact that Okami's lineup has basically been unchanged throughout this entire map. Round 1, Specker played Thermite, has jumped on the Ash since. The rest of the team stayed the same as well. So there's no excuse for Elevate really
Attackers need
to be
locate and defuse
not
bombs.
able to read into this playstyle because it's felt quite similar throughout. The band's the operator picks rather facilitating that. So if Elevate aren't reading into that, that can be a little bit of a red flag.
Church and Arsenal, though, decision here for the final round of the half from Elevate instead of Cash CCTV, which Elevate actually did end up winning that. In terms of Church Arsenal, 1-1 at the moment between the two of them. The biggest one, though, was the last time we came to this site was Specker found that opening frag, and I would honestly go out on a limb and say that literally, guys,
Seconds left.
if Specker finds the opening frag, Okami win the round. Like, that's
Attackers
proven by the stats right now. So it seems like a very marginal difference between the two teams, and you just wonder as we then switch halves if Okami might just be a bit cleaner on the defense, and that could be the difference maker in this best of 1 series.
Could well be, and there might be another early round duel as Digital doing digital things and roaming once again. Does retreat back a little bit earlier on this occasion. Might well go back up blue stairs. Depends where the drone's been positioned to cut that off, but it looks like they have been scattered around by the attack to facilitate quite a quick entry. Okami not even bothering really with checking that top floor, and that does come down to the drones being pre-placed properly, and they'd be able to know if anyone had rotated above, which of course Elevate decided not to.
Not an overly aggressive roam either, and as you said, just fell back a little bit early on, and probably the right thing to do. Just keep Okami guessing. I think the major goal right now here for Elevate, don't lose any members at least until 30 seconds left or so. Just keep everyone alive, because last round they lost 2 around the midsections of Church Arsenal, and that just really blew the game wide open in Okami's favor. And Jack Dad should get one there, never mind. Missed opportunity for Jack Dad. Does tag up Worthy slightly. Worthy's able to escape though with still over half their health, still 2 nades in hand. Might have wanted to try and throw a nade back up, but not going to do so. Minute 20 seconds remaining. Still 5 versus 5. And in terms of the way that this first half has played out, I'm surprised no one's died yet.
Specker still hunting, trying to find an early pick. He might be forced to just drop the hatch and try and really facilitate quite an aggressive rush here from Okami. They're not afraid to go for that sort of playstyle, and as that time continues to tick down, they may not have any other option. It looks like they do have the verticality set up to cut off all these rotates, but as Elevate have been so often, are just sitting and waiting really for that push to come through and not giving that early pick if they can help it.
Yeah, definitely compared to last round, Elevate just sitting still, waiting for Okami to come to them, punish them for maybe being overzealous, and that's exactly what's happened here. Worthy gets that opening frag onto Jack Dad, and with 28 seconds remaining, Okami leaving it to the last second. Specker does get the knock though onto Worthy, who's subsequently eliminated by Cutie. Now can start to push in the hallway. Hippie style finds a knife on a God Leech, and Hippie looking for a second one though. Does not win that exchange against Hotshot, and it's down to a 1 versus 2. Cutie pushes in, finds a double, looking for now a third. 5 seconds left, but doesn't have the diffuser in hand. Unfortunately, doesn't even spot Digital, and so Elevate will break up this streak of 1 for 1. They'll take themselves a bit of a lead into the next half.
Great composure from Digital there at the end, and a great half really for him and the rest of the team. 4-2 lead. Shaping up like this will be quite the close map, and based purely off the first half, expecting it likely to go to overtime. It's going to depend, I feel, just how aggressive Elevate decide to be on their attacks. We saw them play quite passively, of course, outside of Digital on the defense. Not sure how that play style will adapt heading into this second half. I'm guessing off the operator picks, it might be a pretty similar vibe to what we saw from Okami. Maybe try and get that entry and then do the soft breach, hard breach that you need, and then facilitate that execute.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
I don't know Okami want to play this one though. You go for the same sort of strategy that we saw Elevate just play out. Sit back, wait for Elevate to make a mistake, pushing down into the basement. Or do they look for a bit more of a roam? Especially Specker, who probably just has ants in his pants looking to find a frag wherever he can.
5 seconds left. Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Pretty stock standard setup, if you would hear from the defense. No roam again. I would have expected maybe Okami to be the first to dabble in that in the second half, bring that castle and go for something quite aggressive. Instead, though, it'll be a little bit boring. It's probably the easiest way to describe it. Same old, but that said, Cutie spicing it up a little bit there, playing the top of main stairs again. Maybe trying to hunt some drones. Maybe try and find an early pick Specker as well at the top of the secret stairs, finding drones as well. And that's quite important. That's going to deny a lot of that intel for Elevate late round. They've already lost 2 drones, so that's 2 of the 12 that can no longer be used later in the round.
Spec is so vital though in this sort of role. You go down early and it just opens up the door for Elevate, and if Specker does go down early here and Elevate capitalize 5-2 in terms of the scoreboard, is going to be difficult for Okami to overcome, even if they are on the defense. It kind of feels like danger time already for Okami. They need to sort of just weather the storm right now. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to play overly defensive, and obviously they're not based on Specker's position. Definitely can't have Rob and Raven getting a win in terms of the predictions either. That would be disastrous.
Of course not. I'm very confident in Okami's ability to bring this back. No doubt that they will win this map in my mind at all. That said, of course, this first round will be a very nice indicator as to whether or not that prediction will come true. Vast has been downed off screen on the main stairs, likely a C4 over the main wall, and as you can see, Cutie there on the bandits. That's a nice bit of damage done. Unfortunately, not the first kill, but as I say that, it will be Elevate to get the first pick onto It Big.
Not ideal for Okami. Just feels like things are falling apart. And that's just very quickly though. 2 rounds in a row for Elevate. The opening frag here in this round 7. Exchange, hot shot just clears out. ADS, God Legend drops down into Oil Pit. Needs to be aggressive probably now. 30 seconds left. Try and clear out whoever's in blue. Should be able to win this one. Does. Headshot onto Joker. Cutie was eliminated too. Elevate are just all over Okami right now. That was essentially just about flawless. I think Specker found one at the very last second on the God Legion, but it's not looking good for Okami. It's not looking good for our Snowball predictions.
That's exactly what I was going to say if you didn't say it. I'm also worried about my prediction here. I mean, some of the stuff we said before this match could come back to bite us, which will be a little bit concerning. I'm sure Rob and Raven won't leave that one down. But that said, there's a small window now for Okami to bounce back. I'd say if Elevate win this round, head it to match point, then it's probably a GG.
Yeah.
If Okami can at least get this round and hopefully the one after, then it should even out. But based off that first round, Elevate completely overwhelmed them. So definitely worrying signs, and not only worrying signs in this matchup alone, but this would in fact be 2 losses in a row for Okami, a team that we expected to be a very solid chance for the top 3, maybe even the top 2, and that'll be left in tatters if they lose this map.
Well, this is the thing as well, you know, kind of expected Okami to bounce back. You know, their game against Rhythm 7-3 was a good opener for them. They lost to Ferox in, I guess, a surprising fashion. And you just thought, all right, week off, bit of a break, reset things, come back, and while Elevate's not a bad team by any means, and typically you would have thought would be a good measuring stick for them, definitely would never have predicted 2-5 in favor of Elevate right now. Okami just look like they're in a bit of a lull, and they need to wake up. It's not over just yet. Win this round 3-5, you're back in it. But for Elevate, and as you said, guys, if they do make this 2-6, I can't see anything but an Elevate win from there, and would be disastrous for Okami's season.
This setup is feeling very Okami-esque. One of the key things standing out to me is Ippy style playing on those garage rafters. He had 3 ADSs protecting that position, and it's a key one at that. He often plays it with Jaeger or Wamai. Kind of surprised we didn't actually see the Wamega combo both of those operators actually brought out. It is, of course, just the Jaeger for that projectile denial. We did, of course, as well see Jack Daddy roaming, so it seems to be a bit of a trend with the Valk roam here on Clubhouse, and he's in a great position to maybe get a C4 denial on this quick push that is coming through from Elevate. A lot of ground gathered over towards bedroom early.
Drone is ready.
That desperately needs to find an early kill.
Drone is live.
Ooh, that's nice.
That's cheeky from Vast.
Drone is ready. Out of ammo.
Minute 30 seconds, but Elevate well positioned for this round. Vast can now push through Con, keep the pressure on to Okami. Digital just down below.
That's
Okay.
Digital getting the first pick, and Specker. Of course it's Specker involved in the first engagement. Who else would it be? So it's a great way to kick things off here for Elevate. A lot of utility that needs to be dealt with, though. We saw the Malusi Banshees placed around as Gold Legion finds another. So even though it's a 3-on-5, they cannot now just rush straight in towards the side. Jack Daddy could disrupt it, but again, it's Digital to cut that one off. Elevate just walking over the top of Okami at the moment.
Yeah, they're being cut to pieces right now, and Ippy and Cutie, the two roamers for Okami, essentially. Ippy has to come back up to top red. Only spots the Monty. This has just been disaster. This is about to be a flawless round. As Gold Legion gets Ippy Cutie, the last one remaining over in CCTV, hasn't been able to really think here, and just, wow. Match point.
I can't see Okami coming back from this. It feels almost impossible. 2-6 the scoreline. 2 incredibly dominant attacks from Elevate. It's going to take somewhat of a miracle for Okami to do this. And on top of that, they're actually going to head back downstairs. They lost that in their first defense. And I thought that maybe they'd bring the castle and try and roam and play into their aggressive playstyle. Looks like that won't be the case unless they 6-pick into it. And they do. So that's at least somewhat of a promising sign that Okami are willing to change something up in this round. But the way that Elevate have been playing off one another so far on these attacks, they should be able to shut this down.
This is disastrous, though, for Okami's season.
Attackers
They lost to Ferox, gonna lose to Elevate. Where are they gonna find wins? They've got their one win against Rhythm, but can they find another 2 that might be required to make playoffs, you know, against the likes of Noble, Wildcard, Pittsburgh? You just can't see them winning those sort of matchups. This is a big fall from grace for Okami. Whatever happens from here, win or lose, they need to turn things around very quickly on Friday if they're going to have any chance of making playoffs.
10 seconds remaining.
It's just been... And honestly, I'm going to go out here and say that as a team, guys, it's just been a team effort in terms of poor performance from Okami. This is not just like 1 or 2 letting the team down. I just don't see anyone that stood up, really. In terms of Elevate, though, it's been a full team performance. Hot shot, amazing. Digital, incredible. I mean, they've been a different Elevate to last week.
Different Elevate to last week, and definitely a different Elevate to what we saw last season. Almost hard to comprehend the fact that Okami actually made it into the playoffs last season, and the major Elevate finishing second last, and so far they're outclassing Okami, who already have fallen back off the roam. So I'm not sure exactly why that is the case, and whether or not the castles have actually been used elsewhere. I was not particularly focused on that, but what is true, or what is obvious now, is the fact that everyone is actually already downstairs. So that time-wasting potential already forfeited by the defense, and Elevate now, with 2 minutes to go, have a lot of time to think about how they want to approach the side and tick off that checklist to get that done.
And we talk about sort of what this can do in terms of impacting Okami season, but what this does as well for Elevate now and for their season. They're about to find their second win, and well, if our analysts are correct, one more is all that is required. You would think that they could probably find that win somewhere towards now and the end of the season. For the team that, as you said, finished second last in 6 Masters, don't think they're going to finish there here for Oceanic Nationals. But still, before we count out Okami completely, I know they got a long way back here. Sometimes all it takes is it starts with one, and especially on the defensive clubhouse, they can go on a bit of a momentum tear potentially against Elevate. But definitely slowed things right down though. Both teams, in fact, into this match point round. 55 seconds remaining. Oceanic Arsenal. Ippy style though, still just sitting over in CCTV. Eventually we'll push down those red stairs and look to find a frag.
The dangerous thing is that everyone from Elevate is preoccupied trying to set up for this to execute, and Ippy style could sweep through very late here if no one is sitting on a drone and find some key picks. There's potentially one. Sticks it. Worthy getting one back on the board though, as Ippy style is going to get very aggressive. And now Elevate need to be watching their backs as they try and head in towards the site. Plant going down. Question is, can they cover it?
Probably can, because Hotshot's already in there nice and early. If he does find a second one, they went to Vast. Worthy's still just trying to watch and cover Hotshot, who does get that diffuser planted and down. Joker gets Hotshot though as soon as he comes off from it. Digital just hanging up in bar. Worthy does find a frag, but could only probably get one from that position. Now the position is revealed. 28 seconds remaining in this match point round. Joker, Jackdad, can they come up clutch against Worthy and Digital? Getting onto that diffuser right now is Jackdad. Joker's still around there. Digital drops down. Joker helps out by getting Worthy. Does get Digital as well. Okami, they get one back. And maybe, just maybe, not all hope is lost yet, guys.
Good retake there from the defense. It was not a very easy plant to deny, and that's why it was stuck, but the retake was quite strong. Able to shut down a lot of the players that probably from Elevate could have positioned themselves a little bit safer. Maybe again being a little bit wary of another flank coming out. We saw Ippy style quite aggressive there late round. He found, I believe, 2 picks before eventually being shut down. So that was a little bit dangerous for Elevate. And maybe that was the edge that Okami needed in that round. Still a long way to go though. 3 rounds before we go to overtime. So it's a steep hill. It's a very steep hill that needs to be climbed.
We've both seen comebacks though. We've both seen dramatic comebacks happen from the likes of even 6-1, for instance.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused.
I don't know if I've seen a 6-0 comeback, but I've seen 6-1, I've seen 5-1s. 3-6 is not impossible, especially on the defense as well for Okami. Certainly a better round, but yet still felt sloppy. I mean, Elevate were able to get that plant pretty comfortably and relatively early towards the execution stage too. I mean, Hotshot just basically waltzed in and got it down. So even in that round win, guys, it still feels like Okami got a lot of work to do.
None of these rounds have been particularly comfortable for Okami. Keen to see what they bring to the table in this round. Again, sticking the Malusi to try and slow down Elevate. But it's almost felt like those Banshees have had a limited impact because Elevate have had such a strong man advantage as Jack Daddy's running on a treadmill that it hasn't really impacted the attack too much because Elevate have been so strong, and hopefully Jack Daddy is back. He is. Lovely.
I was just doing some exercise, you know, pumping those legs.
100%. Probably needs it if he's going to go for another roam. Needs to build that stamina up.
Well, you mentioned other roam. Ippy style just sitting up in rafters kind of alludes that you're going to pitch a tent. Obviously, you can't just sort of bank on getting wins based off those sort of roams that we saw in the last round. Spec is probably the guy you want doing that anyway. Spec versus Vast here. Oh, if they do collide here on the stairs, doesn't look like it's going to be the case, but Specker does at least get some information from that position. Just feels like that's going to be the difference maker towards the back end of this game, is Okami finding those first frags. That's where they've been able to find their wins. I know it's very simple to say that, but it's just been the case for Okami. They haven't really been able to find round wins if they're not the ones getting the opening frag.
Well, there you go. Digital on cue drops Joker. And one thing I want to mention is the fact that Montang actually has that hard breach gadget now in their bank.
On what happened there?
I have no idea, but it's not good for Okami. I was going to say Vast could open up that con wall, but it's already been opened, I believe.
What?
From a Selma breach, and I don't know how that happened, but
well, I don't know how they got a
bad.
team kill last week either, but they've done it again.
Clubhouse is the team kill haven apparently for Okami.
Oh, that's disastrous too. And I was about to say here's the test as well for Okami, because they did lose Joker early. Joker went down first, and you thought, okay, here you go, 4 versus 5. Can they repel this attack and win this round? Makes it 4 versus 6, and then maybe you feel that confidence burning and build on the momentum. But 3 versus 5 from here, and a rampaging Elevate just feels almost impossible. Con is just well and truly opened up here. Although there's at least something. Spacker does catch Worthy close to the side of the Montang. Makes it a 3 versus 4. 20 seconds remaining. If they get another one here with 20 seconds remaining, guys, it's game back on.
They need to get someone on that CC window. They haven't. Specker is lit up. Finally shut down. That really opens up the round. That's such a big pick now from Hotshot. And with 10 seconds left, Elevate can go for the plant or just find the final kill. Jack Daddy left prone. Nothing he can really do. That said, he does find one. Surely can't deny. Doesn't. Is taken off the board. Elevate do take the map. What a performance from them.
What a performance. Elevate just feels like they've turned their season around already. Bit of a weak break, but a 7-3 victory against Okami. They were the community vote, and the community was correct. Not those Snowball prediction people. They're horrible. Throw them out. But what I can say is Elevate looked amazing here on the Clubhouse, especially Digital, Hotshot, and Worthy fragging out Vast, the support player this one around. So big win, big repercussions as well, guys, for the remainder of this season of Oceanic Nationals. Elevate moved to 2 wins, and for Okami, where are they going to find a win from here?
Wow, I can't believe we're in a position where this early we're already questioning Okami's ability, not only in game, but just ability in general to find these map wins, because that was a pretty poor performance, unfortunately, for them. And that is a very big question mark. Where are they going to find these wins now? I mean, they have LFO next week, so surely they can still get a win there. But I mean, maybe if LFO hits some form tonight and carry that into Friday, that's going to be very dangerous. And then we actually have to start raising the question of Okami in relegations. Can't believe we're even talking about that and putting those 2 words in the same sentence, but I think it's definitely something we need to consider.
100%. And look, you know, I really thought the Clubhouse and this matchup in particular was going to be close. And for the first 4 rounds, it was shaping up that way, right? It was literally back and forth. They won 1 and so forth. And then it was the final 6 rounds, 5-1 in favor of Elevate. They just went on a tear. They just tore the game right open, and they were super impressive. They kept finding early frags. I thought, you know, at times Specker was sort of just like this bomb. Is he going to find a kill, or is he going to explode and get, you know, himself killed? And that probably changed a little bit towards the second half on the defense, but don't know what to say for Okami right now. All I can say is I can praise Elevate. They look good. They definitely don't look like a bottom 2 team. That's great considering the relegations that you want to avoid. But where does Okami go from here?
Yeah, back to the drawing board for a start, I would think. I don't know exactly what they believe went wrong. I'm sure they'll watch the VOD back and try and work that out. It felt to me like Okami just weren't feeling as comfortable as they would have liked, and Elevate were the ones that were dictating the pace of the match, particularly when we headed into that second half. It felt like it was pretty close, still a coin flip at that point, but the first 2 attacks from Elevate, they just walked completely over the top of Okami, and by that point, it made it near impossible to come back and really mounted the pressure on them. So I think those 2 rounds in particular are the ones that Okami really need to have a deep think about what went wrong, because Elevate completely tore them apart and gave no window for that comeback.
Well, we might be able to ask what went wrong, because we got our first interview for the night. It is Sentis from Okami. Unfortunately, that was a bit of a tough one, mate. It didn't quite go, I guess, the way you guys would have wanted it to go, and definitely probably not the way you expected it to go.
Yeah, definitely not. We did expect Clubhouse. We did expect a hard breach ban, especially from Elevate. We just didn't expect the Hibana ban, to be honest. We expected more of a Maverick and Thatcher ban, for example, or something in that regard. So that kind of caught us off guard a little bit. I still believe we shouldn't have been down 2-4 in the first half. We just lost some rounds, very unfortunate communication mistakes, and in general, yeah, just not our best performance.
Yeah, and I guess the one player in particular for Okami that I sort of want to have a little bit of a deeper dive into would be Specker. In that first half, have it noted here that he was almost involved in nearly every one of the opening engagements, and it was sort of like a 50-50 split in whether or not he actually won it or not. What was the thought process behind having Specker playing so aggressively, and did it actually pay off the way you guys would have liked?
We didn't set up Specker to be the entry. We still mainly have Jaden to be our main entry, but we kind of switched roles around a little bit, and to help Jaden play a little bit more passive and don't get as many entry deaths, we helped or tried to help him out with putting Specker on that more or less more entry position, and obviously it didn't work out as planned. Otherwise he would have gotten the entry kills every time, but we're still figuring stuff out, and I hope that we can have things fixed until Friday. Otherwise we'll just have to wing it.
Just coming into this week in particular, you guys obviously had the loss against Ferox, which definitely surprised a lot of people, and then now this happens, which has also surprised a lot of people. Obviously, it's not the start to the season that you guys would have liked, but towards the back end, do you still see improvements coming that you guys can avoid bottom 2 by the end of it?
Definitely. I don't expect us to be bottom 2. The good and bad thing about the season is definitely that top 6 go playoffs. I think, to be honest, that is not a good thing, because there's no stakes basically in the online season. So it really doesn't matter if we only win 2 or 3 matches in the online season, because we will probably still be in the top 6, and then we can start fixing stuff for the players, for the best of 3s, which I think we will be a lot better at. I don't believe that the best of 1s we have currently either, first of all, show our potential, and second of all, actually show which team is better. It's just not the case, and it's been proven time and time again. So yeah, I just don't think that the format we currently have is supporting the best teams, although I don't think we are currently.
Well, at least you're honest there. Look, best of luck on Friday, mate, and hopefully for you guys you can turn things around quicker rather than later.
One thing, we are still looking for an organization, so if anybody's out there trying to pick up a Rainbow Six team, contact me, contact our org account, our Okami account on Twitter, Okami LFO. We're open for offers, so that would be great. Thank you.
Hopefully, for their sake. Whoa, what's going on here?
Hey, we're back.
I just felt like I got chopped up like a puzzle piece there. I love the honesty. I do love the honesty, and I love also the discussion surrounding obviously playoffs and versus the regular season. Obviously, top 6 go through, so it's really just that battle of avoid bottom 2 and that season done, and then playoffs is a different beast, and we know that.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that Sentis noted was maybe the fact that the stakes aren't as high in this regular season, and I would sort of counter that and say that the pressure is almost a little bit higher in some respects to the last season, because you weren't at the threat of actually being relegated, whereas this season or this stage of the global program you are. So I mean, I hope Sentis is right and confident and can back his belief that they will make the top 6, because if they don't, they do have to then play off, and there are a couple of spicy teams coming through the tier 2 scene, so that's something to just keep an eye on. But surely Okami with that easier run can bounce back.
You would think so, and as you said, 2 or 3 wins. There's definitely a formula. I don't know what it is, but 2 wins can technically get you into the playoffs, depending on obviously other results. And for Akami's sake, they've already got 1 anyway. And look, there's a really, really good bunch of guys, and definitely the expectations are there that they will turn things around. I think for us, it was something that we probably didn't think they would be in this position, though, right? And if we go off the predictions, many thought they would beat Ferox, and many thought they'd beat Elevate. And if that were the case, they would have been 3-0 right now, and we wouldn't be having this sort of conversation. So unfortunately, this is just the nature of sort of just competition as a whole. You never know what's really going to happen until you play the games out. And unfortunately for Okami, it just hasn't been going their way. But as I said, they'll be looking to turn things around, and they're going to need 1 or 2 more wins somewhere along the lines. And depending on where they find those wins, if they can get them, they avoid bottom 2. And then that gives them a lot of time to turn things around in the playoffs.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing about this result as well, it's on a little bit of a lighter note, is the fact that unfortunately Raven and Rob were actually correct. So again, I'm sure they probably just ticked the wrong box on the form or whatever. They probably didn't actually mean to pick Elevate, but they got the dub on the board nonetheless. So look, I fully admit, congratulations to them, but it's just one game. It's just one game. So
I'm pretty certain Raven said on the reload last night that he actually thought Okami would win. And that if he could change his pick, he would have. But anyway, well, whatever. Let's go to our next interview. Digital from Elevate should be extraordinarily happy with the way that played out, mate. Congratulations. That wasn't just a win. That was a bit of a slaughter. You guys played extremely well.
Yeah, I don't know. It's finally good to sort of get a convincing win under the belt. Put a lot of work in the off season, and it's good to see that it comes out in game day. So that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, and the one thing I really want to talk about is probably yourself, Dig. I'd say in the first week, you probably didn't quite have the performance personally that you would have liked. Heading out of this map, top of the leaderboard, popping off. What changed?
I'll be honest, like 4 months of not playing at officials, I don't normally get nervous, but the first 2 games I was just, I don't know why, but I was a bit nervous, and it got to me a little bit, I'll be honest. So I just sort of a reset. Second weekend, nerves are gone, and yeah, playing how we want to play. So it's good to sort of transpire this practice what I'm doing in scrims into the comp. So it's good.
Massive win obviously tonight as well against the team that's probably around your level, and I think many thought could go either way. Obviously you guys would have thought you'd be able to win comfortably, and you did. So this now puts you guys on 2 wins, and as has been discussed throughout the community, roughly 3 wins should get you playoffs. Do you agree with the sentiment that sort of Centus laid out in the previous interview, that being able to just make playoffs is all that really matters, and as long as you avoid bottom 2, doesn't matter where you sort of finish in those playoffs positions?
I don't think it doesn't matter. Of course everything matters. I'm not going to win 3 games and then just throw all the rest. I think, seeding does help. It's not helpful in any way. So, I mean, I haven't really looked at the bracket properly, but I'm pretty sure there's a double chance as well. So you want to be placing well. So yeah, just game by game. We just sort of, take every game and give every team respect. Obviously you want to win every game, and that's what we're going to try and do.
Well, it's obviously, yeah, definitely agree with you there. The regular season does matter. And for you guys, sort of, what's the expectations now? 2 wins in the first 3 games. Is there any sort of internal expectations for the remainder of the season from here on out?
I mean, obviously, like in terms of expectation, we want to win every game, but long term, obviously, we want to make top 2 and eventually win the Oceanic Nationals, and snatch some points and some first place dubs and a bit of bit of bragging rights. But I don't know, it's just our expectation is always just to win, like as simple as it is. Yeah, we want to be the best we can be, and that's what we're going for.
It's the best mindset to have, and obviously if you guys keep playing like that, sir, the sky's the limit, mate. So best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers, guys. Cheers to the cast.
That's the attitude that's sort of spoken about in terms of the right mindset, which is always believe you can win. Even if you go up against wildcard, if you elevate, you need to say, hey, we can win this game. We should be winning this game. And who knows what can then happen if you do have that right mindset, instead of going in with the mindset of like, oh, well, as long as we try our best, or if we get three maps or something, then you're just never going to be able to achieve the results you really want.
100%. And I'm super happy coming out of that interview to see Digital's just his body language and his response, it definitely felt on the back end of last season that it was a really rough one for the team. To see him up and about, really good indication that that team is now in a pretty good spot. And if this form continues to rise, then this could be one of the biggest comebacks we've seen in OCE, to jump from second last to somewhere up the upper echelon, really, of the table would be a really big statement.
Yeah. We're going to go to a quick break. That was Elevate beating Okami. When we come back on the other side, it's going to be Wildcard versus Rhythm.